Hi guys, I'm Mark and this is Game Dev Journey. In this video you are going to create a top-down shooter in Unreal Engine 5, from absolute zero to a complete game, with game over screen, game loops, enemies and something more. This video is divided in 6 chapters, and if you want you can navigate through them with your cursor, but of course the first one is only the setup. So if you don't have any knowledge about Unreal Engine 5, I highly recommend to watch it, otherwise you can skip to the second chapter, okay? So guys, let's start this little adventure and let's make a game. Now, as you can see, you will find the official site. It's very important that it is official, okay? So store.epicgames.com. If you want, you can search for the link in the description if you need. Okay, so you can install your Epic Games Store on Windows, macOS, Android, something like that. But Unreal Engine works very well on Windows PC, so remember this. Okay, if everything is correct, you will find this application, okay, Epic Games Store, and in this section you will find Unreal Engine. And in your library you will find your engine versions. Here you will find also my project, your projects. Install your version. Now I have the latest, I think it's 5.7.4, but if you want, maybe you have a not so powerful, not so great PC, try to search for other versions, okay? After the installation is over, you can launch your engine. And so after sometimes you are here in your Unreal Engine editor. Now this UI has changed so much in the last times, in the last month, so maybe you don't have this UI, it's not a problem, okay? So search for this folder is my projects, okay? So you can search your incredible project, and if you want to create a new project, it's simply this button, okay? New project, and it opens this window with everything you need to create a new project. Now of course we choose games, and in this case I don't want to use templates, I don't want to use shortcuts, I want to use a blank, okay, blank project. So let's search and click blank. I choose Blueprint because it's more easy to understand it, and it's very fast to learn Unreal Engine 5 with blueprints, okay? And quality preset I choose Scalable, okay? Because it's more efficient for maybe a not so powerful PC. The project name I choose a simple, so top-down shooter, go very well. And last but not least, create. Okay, so now that everything is created, we are in Unreal Engine 5. Okay, so there are many different information here, so let's check one single thing at a time. So the first thing you see here is the viewport. As you can see, there is viewport 1, and you can create some viewports. Now a viewport is like a window to the level, okay? You can see what is in your scene, what is in your level, and you can navigate. How to navigate? Simple. Use W, A, S, and D, okay? Like all FPS or many different games. So with this you can move, and also with the middle wheel of your mouse you can zoom or not. You can see there is a parameter here with the velocity or the speed of our zoom, okay? Manipulate the speed with your wheel of the mouse, okay? But of course there are some objects here. What is this? All the objects in Unreal Engine 5 are called actor, okay? So an actor is an object in Unreal Engine 5. But of course there are not only actors, because there are also different things that are more specific about one aspect, okay? So here you can see the directional light. As you can see also, so the directional light is like the sun, so you can move it. As you can see, if I choose here, okay, I simply rotate the directional light and I will recreate the effect of like the sun or something like that. So as you can see, it's like day or night. Now what is this? Okay, so these arrows, and so what is that? these are simple way to move, rotate and scale your actor, your objects, or all the things in your scene and also in your level. If you click on something and press W, okay, you can, as you can see, select and translate object. So you can move like that or like that, okay? It's very easy. Now, if you want, you can also rotate. So we can use our exponential 8 fog, that is of course the fog, and so we can rotate, okay, in all the direction and also scale, okay. So for an example, I will create an actor, okay. So click this little plus, and now in shapes you can see a cube, okay. And so we can move the cube, we can rotate the cube, and we can also scale the cube, maybe in the middle to scale everything, okay, in all dimensions. Otherwise, maybe you want to scale in the epsilon or maybe in the x, something like that, okay. So in this way you can manipulate all your actors or the objects in the scene. This is all the catalog of objects in the scene in this level, okay, only in this level. And also for every single actor that you have selected, there is a detail section, okay. So in this case we can see cube that has a static mesh component, that is another thing, okay. And so here there are all the other things. Also here you can see there is the transform section. So basically, if you don't want to use this little arrow, okay, you can manipulate this or maybe scale a little bit. But if you want to search for every different things in your level, but not only in your level, in your entire game, there is a content drawer that is basically a library, okay, as all the things that you have created or you have imported. So as you can see in the content, you will find out anything because it's blank, but we can create some folders, for example, because organization is very important. So let's create some folders. The first one is blueprints, okay? So it will contain our blueprints. The second one is maps, okay? So this folder is for our levels. And another one can be animations. Another one meshes. Another one, it's always like that. Maybe another one that is more important than other is UI. So you can organize everything in a simple and easy way. And so in this way you have seen everything, okay, in this little screen. But of course there is another one thing that is very important, okay. And so you must go in the edit and in your project settings. Now these are the settings of your project, only your project and this single project, not the entire engine. And so here you can choose your default map, maybe if you want to create another level, or you can choose your mode, the game mode base. In this case you can set up your multiplayer, but every different things. Okay, so I think the last thing to do for this video, is a little bit long, sorry for that, is to create a level, okay. So you can start from the scratch. Now to create a level, okay, let's go in file and choose this new level. I choose basic, okay, we don't want an open world. So let's create, save selected, always save a lot, in reality it's so important, and we choose as our folder the maps, okay. I maybe call it level underscore test, okay. So it's saving, and so after some times you will create an incredible level, okay. Okay, now we are in the editor, and as you can see, we have this level, not the level we created in the last chapter, because in reality we saved this level, okay, so the level generated by the engine. So to create another level, in this case, go in file, new level, okay, basic, so the same thing of the last chapter, but now with this untitled, go in file and choose save current level, okay. So not level test, I will call it start level, okay? And so if you go in content drawer and in maps, as you can see, there is start level. And so with double click, you are in, okay? And so now we have fixed this problem. So we want to build our player. Now, how to do this? Basically, we need the basic blueprint, okay? So the blueprint of our player. To do this, go in our content, blueprints in our folder, and we must create our blueprint class, the first blueprint class of this series. And for this one, I choose character, okay? So click on character and BP underscore, I will call it character, okay? Simple as that. Double click on it and we have this class, okay? So it's a child of this parent class that is character. Now, why choose character? Because character has already some important variables and also components. So it's more easy, okay, to create your player. As you can see, there is already a character movement component that is very useful, and also a capture component that is important for the collision part. Arrow component for our forward vector, so basically the right direction of our character, and also the mesh, the character mesh. Now I want to add some things, okay, in it. So click add, and in this case I want the camera, okay, so basically our camera, and also a spring arm. But we want that camera is a child of spring arm. So drop here to delete, okay, it is already parent relation. And so click on camera and drop here, okay? So now it's a child of spring arm. And spring arm is useful because when you modify the target arm length, you modify also the distance from the camera to the player, okay? So as you can see, if I manipulate this, okay, the camera go around. We want, okay, that the camera is up. To do this, simply take our spring arm and rotate. So click on our spring arm, use rotate or click this icon here, also E if you want, the E key, and rotate by 90 degrees, also here, if you want, also here. So with this, okay, we have our top camera, and when we modify this target arm length, as you can see, it's more upper or down. So I want to choose 1000 for this, and so as you can see, it's very up, but it's not a problem, okay? Now the last thing to add is a mesh, a static mesh. Why this? Because for now we don't want to create a character mesh, a complex mesh. We want only a placeholder, okay? So a static mesh that is basically here, some part. Okay. Static mesh is a child of our capsule component, okay, not of the spring arm. So take our static mesh and move it, okay, so use this to reset. Okay, and now we have it. I want to choose the mesh for the static mesh, and it's maybe a easy cylinder, okay, something like that. Now maybe we can modify it a little bit, so scale it, okay, and I want to move it to -40, okay, something like that. For the material, okay, I want to choose maybe a basic material. Let's see what we can get. Okay, here it is, basic asset 03, okay, so it's green, it's easy to see it, not a problem, okay, so choose it and now compile and save. So now we have our BP character, and as you can see, there is a viewport and there is an event graph. In the viewport you see, okay, your definitive, okay, your visual representation of the player, and the event graph you see, okay, your blueprints, so basically your actions, your code. Now before doing our code, our blueprints, we must set up our input. So when you press a key, something happens, okay? To do this, go in content drawer, in content, and we want to create another folder that is called of course, input. And now with a double click, we can create our input mapping context, okay? So input mapping context. IMC, okay, maybe default for now. So what is this input mapping context? Now, an input mapping context is like a catalog, a library of some input actions, okay? So some inputs. And so basically in your input mapping context, you assign a key to an action, okay? So maybe the action is drop something, or maybe pick something, or place. And so you basically assign a key to that action. I hope it's clear, okay? So we need our actions, okay? So create another folder, I will call it actions. And in this folder, we can create our first input action. So search for action, input action, yeah. And of course, is called IA underscore. I will call it maybe movement, okay? So movement. And so when we open this IA movement, okay, as you can see, there is a description and also the action. This is the important part. So as you can see, there is value type. Now, for default, there is a bool type, so or true or false. Now we want a axis 2D vector, okay? So in this way, we can use epsilon, okay, and also the x. But we can use the same axis, and if the value is positive, we use a key. If the value is negative, we use another key, okay? So for this reason, we use axis 2D. Now save always, I recommend it. And go in input mapping context, and here choose a mapping. Now our mapping is called IA movement, sorry. And for this, click on this and choose your key. So I press simply W, okay? So I want to add another 3 because it's W, S, A, D, okay? So now here in W, I want to choose for our modifiers. So we want to modify our axis value. We want to use Swizzle input axis values, okay? So basically we don't want to use X, but in this case we want to use epsilon. So the axis value is the same, but we use another axis, okay? So not X, epsilon. As you can see, the order is epsilon, X, and zeta, okay? For W is like that. For S is another thing, is the same modifier, so Swizzle input axis value, but we want the negative, okay? So when it's positive, W, when it's negative, S, okay? So negate. And in A, we want only negate, because we don't want to use another axis, we want to use only our X, so negate. And the last one is D, that can be well as it is, okay? So let's save. And now to use this IMC, okay, we want to go in edit, project settings, and if you go in our enhanced input, we can set up our default mapping context, okay? So add an element, and this element is our IMC default. So now you can call this action from your blueprints. So if you go now in our BP character, as you can see, we can click the right click of the mouse, okay, with one click, and search for IA movement, and yeah, we have it, okay? Now we want to add an input movement, okay? So add movement input, yeah, something like that. Because we want to set up our movement. So basically, when the action value, as you can see here, maybe we can, okay, so it's more organized. We take our action value here, convert vector 2D structure to vector, okay, it's important. And now with Alt and left click, we can also split it with the right click of the mouse. And now we can use the X for the first one and the epsilon for the other one, okay? So the X go here and the epsilon go here. So basically, when the X is positive, affect, okay, this movement input. When the epsilon is positive, this add movement input, and the same for the negative, okay, values. Okay, so the scale value now is set. Maybe also we can colligate this trigger, okay, and also this one. But now that we have our scale value, we want also to choose our world direction. So basically the x of the world and the epsilon of the world. So basically here I want to choose 1 for the epsilon and also here 1 for the x. I know it's kind of strange, but work, I promise. Okay, so compile now and save. So now before testing, the last thing to do is to go in our viewport, spring arm, and we want to check in inherit, camera settings, inherit, pitch, yaw, and roll, all disabled, okay? This is important for the last mechanics that we will do now, okay, in this episode. So now to test it, go in project settings and also here, and here in map modes, we want to set up our default pawn class. Why this? Because otherwise it spawns this default pawn and we don't have this default pawn, okay? We have set our BP character. So basically we want to create a new game mode. Blueprints go very well, and for now let's leave this new game mode name. And for default pawn class we want to choose our BP character, okay? So now when you go in start level and press play, okay, as you can see we have our player, and if you press W, S, A and D you can move in the world. Now the last mechanic that we want to create today is that when you move your mouse, okay, your player change, okay, direction, so basically rotate. So to do this, go in the event graph of BP character and you want to use this little node here. Now event tick is very useful, but it's also very inefficient, okay, because it runs every single frame, okay? So please use it with a lot of caution, okay? Use only the essential things here. Now, so in the event tick, we want to simply set the rotation of our actor. So I want to search for set rotation, set actor rotation, okay? So the actor, of course, is our BP character. And now for the new rotation, we want to get player controller, okay? So basically the controller of our player. It's important to search for the player, okay, section. So search for it, game player, okay, and search for get player controller, okay. Also get it result under cursor by channel. It's very a long name. Trace channel visibility, okay, it's everything okay. And now you want to break this hit. So basically this is the hit of our cursor in the world. So break it, context sensitive, break it result. And now we want to take find look at rotation, okay. And so the start point is the point, the location of our character. So I want to search for a get actor location, okay. Get actor location. So basically the position of our player is the start, and the location of our cursor is the target, okay? And with this, split it, because we want to use only the yaw, otherwise it can flip a little bit. Okay, so use the yaw and combine here. Now compile, save, and when you press play, now as you can see, I move and nothing happens. In reality, something is happening, okay? But you don't see it. So rotate only for now by -90° your incredible mesh. And now if you press, as you can see, it rotates. And so guys, this is it. We have it. Now we want to create our shooting system. So the first thing to do is to delete our placeholder mesh, because now I have created a interesting mesh for you. So you can find the link in the description and simply import it. So go in content drawer, import, click here. Okay, so when you have this window, okay, simply click import, okay, and also move this tank into content. So go here and move it in the content, okay, move here, not in maps. Okay, so we have our static mesh. Maybe it's better to organize a little bit, so we can create a new folder called meshes and simply drop it, okay. So move here and we have it, we have our tank, okay. So now we can simply go here in static mesh and search for tank. And as you can see, of course, the scale is equal to the previous one, okay. So click this reset and now we have our incredible tank. Also reset here and maybe move it. So now we have it. If you press compile and go in start level, as you can see, we have our tank, okay. Very cutie. Okay, so we have fixed this little problem, okay. So we have a mesh. Now in content drawer we can create our bullet, okay, our projectile. So how to do this? Basically go in blueprints. Now in blueprints we want to create a new blueprint class, the second one, okay. So basically our actor, because it's simply an object and in Unreal Engine 5 they are called actor, okay. So an actor. BP underscore I call bullet, okay. Ctrl S to save and double click to open it. I can move it here and we have it. Now we have this little BP bullet, okay? So in this case, the most important part of our blueprint is the sphere collision, okay? Because the collision is the essential part here. Because with our collision, we can simply calculate the damage. So the collision here is the fundamental part. So let's create it. Search for sphere collision, okay, and we have it. Now if you take this sphere and drop in default scene route, you basically remove the default scene route and now the scene route is our sphere, okay? So it's our starting point. Now we can add our static mesh. And this static mesh can be a sphere. So maybe I can call it projectile, yes. And so this is our projectile. Maybe we can scale it a little bit. So go here or press R. This go well. Now let's press compile and also save. And the last fundamental part is our projectile movement, okay? Because Unreal Engine 5 has already an incredible, okay, component made only for this. So in this projectile movement, as you can see, there is variable, sockets, projectile, and we want to stop some variables, okay? The first one is our initial speed. I want to choose an initial speed of 1500, okay? And the max speed is basically the same. So initial velocity, yes. Projectile gravity, I want to choose 0, okay. I should bounce false, okay. It's important here to false. Now let's compile and save. We want to create our input action, okay. So in our input, in actions, we can create an input action, okay. Search for it, input action, IA underscore shoot, okay. If you double click on it, as you can see, it's the value type is bool and it's important. And if you go in our IMC default, so in our input IMC default input, this is the input mapping context. As you can see, we can add a new action to the mappings, and this action is our shoot, okay. For this one, I want to choose the left click of the mouse, okay. So here it is. Yes, one thing here, don't want to choose modifiers like in the previous action, but we want to choose a trigger. The trigger here is to pressed, okay? So we shoot basically only when we press the key, because otherwise we call the input action every frame, okay? That maybe, because maybe we hold the key and so we don't want it, okay? We want only when it's pressed. Now in BP character, we can, okay, simply call the input action. As you can see, there is here the input action movement. And so now here we can search for our input action shoot. What is the logic, okay, behind this mechanic? Basically, when you press your key, in this case your left, okay, button of the mouse, you basically spawn our BP bullet, okay, into a point, and after that, basically the bullet moves. So here we want only to spawn the bullets. So when it's triggered, we want to spawn actor from class, okay? The class is our BP bullet, okay? And our spawn transform is a little bit more complicated, okay? So let's find out. Now for the location, I want to create a position where we decided that, yeah, the bullet must spawn here, okay? So in this case, go in viewport, and here maybe we can add a new static mesh, okay? We don't want to add a mesh in reality, but we can use it for the position. So I want to call it spawn point, okay? So this spawn point can be a child of the static mesh, okay? It can be located here, okay? So as you can see, we can disable this snap. So in this case, we can be more precise. So move it. Yeah, go well, okay? Maybe a little bit on the left side. Yeah. So now, when you go in event graph, you can take this spawn point, get world location, okay? So we take the position of the spawn point, and this is our spawn transform location. For the rotation, okay, in this case, we want to use the rotation that we already have calculated here, okay? So fine, look at the rotation. So basically, we can create a new variable that is a float, and I can call it rot, okay? So the mouse rotation. So I want to set it here, so every tick. And now take the yaw and put it here, okay? So the mouse rot. Now we can take our mouse rot here in the variables, get it, and go here. So spawn transform rotation zeta, okay? In the yaw. And so we have it. We have created our mechanic. There is only one problem. The problem is that when you spawn something, of course, the data goes directly, okay, into your storage. Now, your cache in your storage, okay? And so, if you maybe spawn 1000, okay, of items, of course, your cache can have some problems. So, in order to fix it, we must delete our objects after some time. This time is called live spawn, okay? So in the event graph, in our event begin place, so basically when we spawn the object in the world, we set live spawn, okay? I recommend like 2 seconds, but you can test maybe a more interesting value for you, okay? It depends on your PC, on the requirements of your project. So let's compile and save. And now if you go in your start level and press play, as you can see when you... Oh, yes. So when you press your left mouse, as you can see, we can spawn our bullets. We have created an incredible easy shooting system. But now there is one last thing to do, because we must add a fire rate. Okay, fire rate is so important because otherwise you can literally spam. So in order to fix it, let's go back in BP character, and now we want to add a new variables, and this variables is boolean. This variable is can shoot, okay? And so basically here we want to check if we can shoot. In can shoot, after you press compile, in the default value, you must select this little icon, okay? So can shoot must be always true. in the start. So let's combine here for the condition. And so when you press your left click for the first time, you can shoot. But when you have spawned your actor, now you cannot shoot, okay? So set can shoot to false. And so after some times you can shoot, but you must wait some time. We can create a set timer by function, okay? By function name. So this basically set a timer, and after when the timer ends, basically it calls the function, okay? Basically here in the function we can create a new function, and this function is called reset fire rate, okay? Something like that. And so can shoot here, we want to set it to true. Now in the event graph, for the function name, I want to write the same exactly thing, okay? And for the time, we can choose the value of our hypothetically fire rate. If you want, you can create a variable. In this case, I want simply to choose 0.2 seconds, okay? So let's compile, let's save, and now guys, we add it. Because when you press left click every 0.2 seconds, as you can see, we can now shoot. And it's very, very funny, okay? Now we are in the editor, and as you can see, when we press play, this little icon, our tank shoots our projectiles, okay? So this works fine. But we need our enemy AI, otherwise it's not a game, okay? So for doing this, go in content drawer and in blueprints, okay? Content blueprints, now we can create our blueprint class. For this one, I choose character, BP underscore enemy. Why characters? Because otherwise we don't have the character movement, and it's important for now, okay? So double click on it, and now we have it, our BP enemy. So for doing the same thing, we want to take our static mesh of basically our character, Ctrl C, and go here in capsule component and Ctrl V, okay? So we paste it. So now we have the same mesh, but of course the color must change. So go in basic asset 1, okay? Maybe we can scale it a little bit, like, yeah, something like this. And we can compile and save. Now we have created our first blueprint, but for creating the navigation of this little blueprint, we need a volume. So basically, like an object in the world that you place and you decide the area, okay? That area in this case is like an invisible map where AI can walk, okay? This little area, this volume, in this case is called nav mesh bounds. So we can search it. Now here we can search for a volume, and here nav mesh bounds volume, okay? So is this little, okay, cube here. And now we can scale it a little bit. So here, okay. So this is of course our enemy area, okay? So the enemy can walk there. If you want to see your area, so where the enemies can walk, go here and show flags related and search for navigation. As you can see, there is this little icon. If you press, okay, we see the area. Of course, the green area is where the enemy can walk. For now, this is okay. So let's go back to our BP enemy, and now we can create a logic, so the movement logic. So in the event begin play, we want to set up a set timer by event. So basically, it's like the set timer by function that we already used, but with an event. We create a custom event here, and we can call it maybe movement, okay? As you can see, maybe we can organize a little bit, so move it here and move it here. This is a custom event, so basically we can create everything we need, everything we want in this event, and when we need, we can call it, okay? So in this case, this set timer, after some time, call the event. The time in this case is like 0.1, so not so much, of course. Let's compile and save. And now we can take this node and place it here in the custom event, okay? So when the timer is over, go here in this movement. So for this movement, we want to get player pawn, okay, and set as a variable, okay? So promote to variable. So this variable here. So this variable, in this case, we can call it player ref, okay? And now we can check if this reference is valid, okay? So this one, okay, is valid, and the input object, of course, is our player ref. And if is valid, we can now search for AI move 2. So this is a simple order, okay? It's a simple move to the player location. So for the pawn, we choose a self-reference. So get us a reference of himself, so BP enemy. And for the target actor, we choose our player ref. Okay, so in this case, I prefer to get it here. So get player ref, go here and also go here. And the destination is okay like that, because in reality we use the location of our target actor. The acceptor radius, I want to choose like 40 or something like that, because otherwise it can overlap with our player, and we don't want that, okay? Stop on overlap, we can disable it, okay? So let's compile and save. Now we can test it. So go in start level, and now we can simply drag and drop our BP enemy. So let's click play, and nothing happens. So after some debug, I finally find out what the problem is. So basically here in BP enemy, if you go in collision in the static mesh, you must select no collision, okay? So the collision is only for our capsule component and not for a static mesh. Otherwise, literally the mesh collide with our nav mesh bounce. So it was really a mess, okay? So now, as you can see, I drag and drop 3, okay, blueprints. So now if you press play, as you can see, yeah, your enemies follow you, okay? But of course, the velocity is a little bit too high. So here in character movement, we can simply change in character movement walking, we can change the velocity. So here the max work speed, which is like 100, okay? Also for the max work speed crouched, okay? So compile, and now if you press play, as you can see, okay, it's better. Okay, so we have it, but of course now we can set up the damage, okay? So the first type of damage we can set up is when our enemy overlap with our character. So how to do this? Basically in your, maybe in viewport it's better, we can create a box collision, okay? Another one, because in this case it's a little bit different. So we can maybe move it here and simply scale it. So we have our box collision, perfectly, okay? So if you go in events down here, click on component begin overlap. So basically when the collision, okay, collide with something, okay, we do something else. So in this case, we must check if the other actor is basically our BP player. So how to do this? Basically choose cast to BP third person, okay? So in this case, BP character. So if it is a BP character, okay, we want to apply damage. Apply damage. This is useful for our next video, okay? But for now, you apply damage, okay? So the base damage we can choose like 10. The damaged actor is our BP character, and our damage causer is our self, okay? So get a reference to self. Okay, and for now this go well. So this is a type of damage. Now I want to create another one. So basically when the bullet, okay, that has a sphere collision, so here, this sphere collision overlap with something, so on component begin overlap, and that something is basically our BP enemy. So we want to do the same thing, so cast to BP enemy and drop, okay, the node here. If it is a BP enemy, now we want to destroy the enemy, okay? Destroy actor, because with one shot you can destroy the enemy. But if you don't want that, you can simply copy the same thing, so apply damage, okay? But in this case I want to destroy the actor, so when your bullet simply overlap with the enemy, destroy the enemy. So now let's compile and save, and maybe we can test it, okay? So as you can see, okay, the enemies change direction when I move. Also, if I press the left click of the mouse, yeah. So guys, we are now in the editor, and the first thing to do is to go in our BP bullet. Why is? Because now we want to change a little bit our rules, because we don't want to destroy our actor when basically the bullet, okay, hit the enemy, but now we want to apply a sort of damage, okay? So let's, okay, delete our destroy actor, and now we can create apply damage, okay? Our enemy is basically our damaged actor, and the damage causer, okay, is basically a self-reference. Simple like that. For our damage, I want to create a variable and I want to call it damage, okay? So here is our float, okay? Let's compile and save. For now we can choose like maybe 30, okay, something like that. And now we can basically take our damage and simply combine it here in base damage, okay? So now we apply the damage to our enemy, and after that we want to delete our bullet, okay? So destroy actor, and of course the target is self, because after the bullet, okay, apply damage, the bullet is delete from the word, okay? And so now in BPN we want to change a little bit our mechanic, because we want to call an event when we apply the damage to the enemy. This event is called any damage, okay? And we call this event simply when basically the enemy receive, okay, the damage. So we want to create another variable that is basically our health, the health of our enemy, that is a float, of course. And so now we want to modify it. Let's compile, because we want to select in default value 100, okay? For now can go well. And so basically get this health and we want to set it. We want to take the starting health, okay? So get health, subtract from it the damage, okay? So let's maybe organize a little bit. Okay, so now we modify the health. When the health is or 0 or maybe less than 0, basically the actor must be destroyed, okay? So now we can set up a simple, okay, branch here, and the condition is if the health is less or equal to 0, so when it's true, we want to simply destroy the actor. So destroy actor, okay? So we shoot the bullet, hit the enemy 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. At some point, okay, the enemy is destroyed. Of course, it's a game, so an important part of a game is the feedback, okay? So when something hits something else, we want to create a type of feedback, maybe a visual feedback, a sound feedback, and something like that. In order to do this, we want to create a visual feedback. So we want to change the material of the static mesh into white, and after some time we want to restart, okay, the same material, the starting material. So basically here in the event any damage, okay, we want to take our static mesh, so maybe here, okay, we want to set material, okay, so let's organize a little bit, okay, and so now here we want to set the material, and the material is white, but we need to create it. So let's go in content drawer, and in, okay, we don't have materials, so let's create a new folder, materials. And in this folder we can create a material. So here, material. I want to call it am_white. And so we can simply open it, and here in the base color you can choose the brightest white you can find. And also here I want to choose a roughness of 0, okay, so it's very visible. So let's apply, and now simply here material select M white. Okay, so let's test it. Okay, so if you go here, press play, as you can see it's white, but of course we want to restart, okay, the same material. So let's close this tab and go here in the event begin play. So here we want to simply save our default material, okay, so I want to call it maybe default material. So here object reference, and we want to set it to the same of our static mesh. So take our static mesh, get material. Okay, let's change here, not material, sorry, but material interface. Okay, so now yes, we can set it. Okay, so here, okay, after the white we want to set basically our default material. So let's create a timer by function name. So set timer by function name. The time I want to choose 0.1, it's very fast. And the function name, we want to create a new function, okay? So go here in functions, and this function we can call restart material. So we simply set the material of the static mesh. So take here the static mesh, set material, in material, okay, take our default material and simply combine these two nodes. Let's compile and save. If you go back here in set timer by function name, we can now write restart material, okay, must be the same, okay, noun, the same. Now let's test it. Okay, as you can see it's white when we hit him, and yes, after some time the enemy is destroyed. Now we want to apply also another type of damage and health also for our BP character. If you go in enemy, as you can see, we have created this little function here. So when the box, okay, this box here in viewport overlap with character, we simply apply some damage, okay? So in the event graph here, apply damage. But yeah, we can maybe set up a more complex mechanic. So here in the variables, let's create a damage, okay? So we can simply modify it in a very easy way. I don't know, 20, okay, something like that. And also here we can simply drag and drop here in base damage. So go here in character, we can create a new variable, and we want to call it always health. It's always a float. Now we can search for any damage event, any damage, and so when this event is called, do the same thing of our enemies, simply take it and copy it, okay? So here this way, okay? So go here and simply, okay, combine this way. We can also create a visual feedback, can be the same of the enemy, maybe we can simply change the material. Let's do the same thing, okay? So go in BP character, okay, let's move it. I want to do it in a very fast way. So here the object is self, the function name we want to create a new one is called restart material, okay? If you go back in the event graph, we don't want maybe the white, we want to apply the black, okay? So let's create a material and black. Let's save and let's here, okay, change the color to black and also the roughness to 0, okay? So let's save. If you go back to our BP character, now we can simply, okay, select black, and in our, okay, begin play, we need to set up our default material, it's important. So let's create our default, that is an interface material. We want to set it to the same material that we have in the start. So let's take our static mesh and take basically our material. get material. The return value go here. And now if you go in your start material with our static mesh, the material. So set material to our default material. Okay, I know it's the same thing, but we must do it. Of course, the health must have a default value. So I want 100. And of course, we cannot destroy the actor, but maybe for now, okay, we can print a string and say game over. In the next episode, we will create the feedback UI core loop and something like that, okay? So now we can test it. When we press play, as you can see, I can hit, oh yeah, our enemy. There is a feedback. So guys, we are now in the Unreal Engine 5. As you can see, we start with this default map because in reality our start level is not set as default, okay? So in order to fix it, let's go in edit, project settings, and here in map and modes, let's modify these default maps, okay? We don't want open world, we want our start level. Also for our default, okay? So editor startup map, our game default map. So after this, okay, we can now open our start level, and in the future it will open, okay, alone. The first thing here is to create our health bar. So we need a widget blueprint, okay? So we need the UI. So let's go in UI and let's create our widget blueprint. Go in user interface, widget blueprint. User widget and select. I can call it maybe widget blueprint, okay? So WB underscore, I can call it HUD, okay? So it's our main HUD. Let's open this and let's organize. Now, as you can see, there is the designer mode and there is the graph mode. The designer mode is where you can design, okay, your UI. The graph mode is where in reality you can build your logic, your mechanics, blueprints, something like that, okay? Let's start with a canvas panel, okay? So a canvas panel is like our blank paper, okay? And so we build something on it. So there is our canvas panel, and now we want a progress bar. So it's this, okay? Progress bar. And now we have it, we have our progress bar. Now we can modify the anchor. The anchor is simply the alignment to the screen. I want to use this anchor here, so the left, and now we can modify it. So for the size of the X, I want to choose 300. We can simply move it here, something like that. And now we can change the color, because we don't want blue, we want the red color. Okay, we want, of course, 100%. So at the start, you have the full health. Okay, so now we have it. We can now call it a progress bar and check its variable. Let's compile and save. And now if you go in graph, now we have our progress bar, our variable, okay? So let's create a function here. So let's click add and create a new function. This function can be update health, okay? For this update health, we now want two inputs here, okay? So the first one is a float and also the second one, but the first one is our current health. The second one is our max health, okay? Basically now we want to set the percentage of our progress bar. So let's take our progress bar, set %, okay? And this value is the current health divided by our max health, okay? Something like that. So let's compile and save, and now we have created this, okay, logic. If you go back in our character, now we want to create a new variable here, because we don't need our health, but we need also our max health. Okay, it's always a float, and I want to choose for this one 300, and also for the health, okay, the default value must be the same, so 300. Now we want to add it to the viewport, okay, so you take this widget, create it, and also add to the viewport. Go in begin play, so here in the event begin play, And now we want to create a widget. This widget here has the same class of our WBHUD, and for our owning player we choose our player controller, get player controller. Okay, now we need a new variable that is basically our HUD, and it's here the same, so WB underscore HUD. This one we now can set it here. Okay, so we have in every moment a reference to our widget. We can now add it to viewport. Okay, and the target is the same. Let's compile. Now if you go back here, so when there is event any damage, here we can move it this code and simply call the function of our widget. So here let's get our HUD and simply call our update health, something like that. Yes, here there is a problem, so now we can fix it, because in reality our damage for now is a 0 and we don't want that. Okay, so we take the damage of the event and put it here. So basically the damage you receive here is colligated here, and so you scale it from the current health. Now this health is our current health and our max health go here. Okay, so the update health function very well. Let's compile and save. Oh yeah, here of course now we want to get it and combine it here. Okay, otherwise of course there is a problem. So let's save. Now if you press play, as you can see, okay, this progress bar work. As you can see, works very fine. Now we have set, okay, our progress bar. Now we can set up our score counter. It's basically the same, but now we want to count the number of enemy we defeat. Okay, so now let's go back in WBHUD in designer mode, and we want to simply take a text, put it here in canvas panel, and now not the same anchor, I want the right anchor. Let's put it here, and maybe okay, something like that. Let's choose a size to content. Now we want to set 0. Okay, so this is basically our score. This is a variable because we want to modify it, and let's choose maybe not yeah, size like that. Okay, you can of course control if you want. Okay, maybe we can move it here, so something like that. Let's see if okay, this is better. Maybe not white, black, so we see it more clear. And let's compile and save. Now if you go back in our graph mode, as you can see, we have our update health, and now we have a new variable, it's our score. So we can now create a new function that I want to call it update score. And so basically we take a score, this input that is a score, simply get score and simply set text. Okay, set text. So this one and the score go here in text. So let's compile and save. Now when basically our enemy is dying, you can go here in event any damage. Before we destroy the actor, now we want to use a new blueprint. This blueprint is very useful and is called game mode. Okay, we have already created it's in our blueprint, and as you can see there is new game mode. Okay, that is already our default game mode. So now in new game mode, open full blueprint editor. Now we can use a variable, and it's an easy way to access to this variable. Okay, an important thing to notice is that new game mode, this game mode works in your level. So if you create here your variable, when you close your game or you change level, your variable is gone. Now let's create a new variable. Here is our score, and it's a float. Okay, let's compile. In the event begin play, I want to simply set it to 0. Okay, let's save. And now here in the enemy we need to get a reference of this game mode. So how to do this? Basically go in the event begin play, here before set timer by event. And now we want to create two variables. One variable is our character ref, basically our BP character, okay? And the other one is basically our game mode ref, okay? And this one, of course, is new game mode. In order to get the reference, we now want to get player pawn and use a cast. Okay, so cast to BP character. So basically we say that we get the player pawn. If the player pawn is BP character, we simply save this reference. Set our character reference, set here, and after that we want to use another cast, but for our game mode reference. So we get game mode, we use a cast to new game mode, and after that we now want to set our game mode reference. Okay, let's combine it here. Now if you go back here, okay, before we destroy the actor, so now we can modify our game mode and simply put the same value in our widget. We take our game mode reference, get game mode reference, and we simply set score, okay, the same value. Now, if the enemy is dying, so this branch is true because the health of the enemy is 0, we now want to get the actual score of our game mode reference and simply add it 1, okay? So now this one is the new score. Now for our widget, we want to get our character reference, so get character reference, get our HUD reference, and now we can finally call update score. The score, of course, is this one, and simply now we can destroy the actor. Let's compile and save. Now there is only one problem here to fix, because in the last episode we have created this mechanic, but when AI move 2 is finished, because basically the enemy arrived to our character, if you move your character, the enemy stay there. And we don't want that. We want that after some times he continues his movement. So here on component begin overlap and do this, so apply damage. But we want also, if you go in our box and take our on component end overlap, so basically when end, okay, the overlap end, we now want to set timer by event. So we call this event here, so the movement, after maybe 0.2 seconds, okay? Let's save and now we can test it. So as you can see, there is a number here, and okay, if I kill the enemy, that number is rising. Oh yes, finally, okay? Now the last thing to do is our game over screen, because otherwise it's not a game, okay? It's too easy. Now go in our UI, and here we want to create a new widget blueprint. User widget and select. This one is WB underscore, I want to call it game over screen. Okay, let's open it. Now the same thing, so our canvas panel, and now we want to create a button and a text. The text here, and put it okay as a child of button, and another text that is a child of canvas panel. So the child of button is basically like a restart, so you can press the button and you can restart the level. The other one in reality is our game over, okay? Game over. Modify this one, game over. We can move the anchor in the middle, and also for the alignment I want to choose 0.5, so it's in reality in the middle. Size to content, and simply we can scale it a little bit, okay? And now for our button, must go in the same anchor, so in the middle. And this button, 0.5 alignment, 0.5, and now we can move it maybe here, okay, something like that. Size to content, and now for the text, we can now write restart. This one is restart, and it's maybe black. Okay, so restart, go here. We can scale it a little bit. Okay, if you want to change something, of course you can do whatever you want. Let's compile and save. Now in our button, so go here, check is variable, and here in events on clicked. Okay, so basically when we press the button, we can now open a new level. So the name must be the same of our level. So go in our maps, and this one is the same. So start level. Let's compile, save, now go in character. And now we want, okay, to apply this mechanic here, okay, before the print string that we can also delete, okay? So we can check the alt is equal to 0, okay? If it's true, now we can continue. We want to remove from parent the widget, so our HUD, okay, and create a new widget. This widget is basically our game over screen, okay? So we want to search it, game over screen. The owning player is basically our get player controller. And after this, we can simply add it to the viewport. We want also to enable the UI mode. Otherwise, you move your tank, and we don't want that. Okay, so we now want to enable UI game mode, set input mode UI only. Player controller is the same. Also, we want to set show mouse cursor. The target is always our player controller. Sorry, not this one. Okay, get player controller with the context sensitive. Okay, get player controller, this one. Okay, so return value, go here and go here and also here. Okay, so basically we now want to show the cursor because the player must click on the button, and after that the only thing to do is to disable the tick, okay, the event tick. So set actor tick enable, we don't want it. Okay, the target is self, and okay, with that now the same thing must be done, okay, also in the begin play, because otherwise, okay, you are in the input mode when you restart the level, you see the cursor and there is no actor tick enable, and we don't want that. Okay, so take this one and simply copy it. Why disable the event tick? Because as you can see, there is a set actor rotation, and basically when you move the cursor, our tank is rotating, and so maybe not. Okay, so in the event begin play, let's move it, let's copy, okay, let's paste it. Now set input mode not UI only, so set input mode game only. Let's get our player controller always, return value go here, for the target also here, show mouse cursor disable it, and finally set actor tick enable, we want to enable it. Okay, perfect. Now we have finished, guys, because if you now open this one, as you can see, there is our UI. Oh, okay, no. Okay, so I'm dying, game over, restart. Guys, this is the last chapter, so this series ends here, okay? Let me know in the comments if this series is interesting, if I can maybe improve some aspects of it, and let me know also if you want a new series in the future, maybe an RPG or I don't know, a shooter. So let me know and I will try my best. Thank you for everything, guys. I'm Mark, this is Game Dev Journey, and so guys, bye bye, to the next time.